Battlers, we are back. Welcome to another episode of the United Podcast Roster Review Edition. Well, the roster review, Battlers, is all about breaking down the squad and making sure everything is in the right place, exactly like our mates do at Above and Beyond Construction and Developments. Whether it's fixing up your existing home or building something brand new, they will make sure there are zero weak links in your lineup. And the best part is, Battlers, it's as easy as ABC. So if you need quality construction work that will not leave you second guessing, make sure you hit up our mates at ABC Developments, because they will go above and beyond for you and will not drop the ball. Well, here we are, Battlers, in what will be one of the most monumental episodes to date. Huge, massive news breaking. That's right. With the news coming out, Adam O'Brien agrees to end his tenure with the Newcastle Knights come season's end. Plenty to talk about there, plenty to discuss. Who will take over? Who are some likely candidates? Wow. Wowee. That will absolutely dominate this episode. So start typing away there. Get your thoughts out, your opinions. We're going to look at some of those. Not only are we going to look at that as one of the probably the biggest United news segment we ever had, this week, there happens to be a game on also. That's right, with the Newcastle Knights travelling down to Shark Park this Sunday afternoon to take on the Sharks fresh off the bye as they look to try and secure their top four finish. And unfortunately, history is not on our side at all. Adam O'Brien staring down his worst losing streak since arriving at the club, trying to do better than his 7-game losing streak back in 2022. The Knights haven't lost that many games since our last wooden spoon year in 2017. The Knights have not won at Shark Park since 2014. The Sharks have won their last 5 of 6 games at Shark Park, and the Knights have won their past 5 games also at Shark Park. The Sharks have won their 5 of the last 6 against the Knights too. So history and the statistics are not on our side whatsoever. So, yes, we're going to break down and talk about that game. But yes, Battlers, not only that, we'll be taking a look at this week's player battle matchup. We'll be taking a look at your grain-fed lock it in. So make sure you start typing those in and answering your get out of live fire safety training burning questions. So, Battlers, sit back and get ready as we take a look at the Adam O'Briens and outs of this week's monumental game against the Cronulla Sharks. Let's go! All right, first things first, before we start jumping into some Adam O'Brien news now, look, this has been a terrible season for us Newcastle Knights supporters. It hasn't been great for us, Battlers, but I tell you what's right around the corner, baby, and that's the NFL. Up the mighty big blue, the New York Giants. Now, I want to know, Battlers, what are some other sports that you look to turn to when the Newcastle Knights just aren't doing it? What are you looking forward to? If you're an NFL guy or gal, type away your team. But yes, 9 days until the kickoff of the NFL. Cannot wait. Hosting the big draft night here. Might do a bit of content with the boys in here. It'll be packed out. The annual event's always a good bit of fun. But yes, I'm so stoked because you know what? We haven't had too many wins to celebrate. My New York Giants haven't been particularly great seasons past, but you know what? They might turn things around this year. I'm feeling good about this year. So yeah, stoked that the NFL season is right upon us. And how good is it that it just perfectly lines up the conclusion of the NRL season, well, the best part of the NRL season, rolls straight into the NFL season. Just the gift that keeps on giving. Football all year long. Who we got? We've got some other teams. What are some other supporters, Lou?
Sorry, before we go into the other teams, Justin's asked, are you changing your AOB ins and outs now?
I was actually going to ask this.
Yeah.
I was going to ask this. Now, you let me know, Battlers. Does my catchphrase, the Adam O'Briens and outs, stay, or do I need to, depending on who the incoming coach is, readjust? Is it just cemented now? Is it just a part of the folklore of the United podcast and it just has to stay at this point? Or do you feel it's time we move on? You let me know. And if you got some ideas, I'll take some ideas. But let me know if you think it should stay or go. Is it a nice little nod for the 6-year period of time that we had Adam O'Brien as coach.
All right. Justin said KC Chiefs.
Oh, on the Kansas bandwagon. Yep.
Daniel's got Seahawks.
We got your boy Russell Wilson. He's a Giant now.
Clinton said Cleveland Browns.
Oh, you poor bastard. Jesus. Imagine being a night supporter rolling into the Cleveland Browns. I hope you go a bit better, mate. They've been starved of success for a long, long time, the Cleveland Browns.
Matt said Liverpool and Dallas.
Liverpool and Dallas. I hate the Dallas Cowboys, mate, an NFC East rival. I hate them and the Philly Eagles equally as much. Fucking hate both those clubs, mate, and I mean that respectfully.
Laurie got the Chiefs.
The Chiefs, yeah. Chief Kingdom's growing and growing. Pretty successful.
Got the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, my brother's a mad Raiders supporter. Very good. Very good. All right.
Here we go. This is good from Brennan. Isons or is outs.
Is ons or is out.
Isons or is outs. That's a good one.
Is on or is off, baby. I don't know. Very good. Clever. Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. First things first, brought to you by our great mates at Newcastle Mixed Martial Arts, which is Newcastle, Lake Macquarie's and the Hunters' highest rated mixed martial arts gym with more than 350 Google 5-star reviews. Beginners are welcome into their safe, inclusive, and most importantly, battlers fun training center. Head coach Jess Landry's experience includes being directly trained by UFC veterans as well as under the wrestling coach of the Sydney Roosters. Newcastle Mixed Martial Arts is centrally located in Cardiff, right beside the Cardiff train station, offering day and night classes for kids, teens, and adults, including Muay Thai kickboxing, gi and no-gi Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and mixed martial arts. So make sure you go visit their website at newcastlemma.com.au and book your free trial, and you will be kicking ass in no time. Get that summer body ready just in time. Summer's right around the corner. I'm looking forward to it. I'm much more of a warm weather kind of a guy. I'm not a cold weather dude. I just don't thrive in the cold. I must be cold-blooded. I just don't. No one here is active. I find it. Don't you find that? I hate the short days. I love longer days. You come home, the sun's up longer. You get out of bed easier. It's fucking hard getting out of bed in the cold.
This was the first winter I've actually hated because I run hot, and yeah, we've had a very cold winter.
Yeah, you do.
And now I can't deal with the cold.
I won't be able to stop you now. Come summertime, you'll be a brand new woman.
I will.
Hey? Very good. All right, battlers, if you're enjoying the live stream, please give it a big old thumbs up. This is going to be one of the monumental ones of all time. So please do so. It really does help us out. And wherever you're wasting your time on social media, I can guarantee you we are there. Instagram, X, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, we're there. Haven't got an OnlyFans account yet. We might look into that in 2026.
Off-season.
Bit of off-season content, you reckon? I actually do have a little bit of a sneak peek. Look, hey!
No. Bumblebee tuna.
This is the good thing when you get to sit behind a desk. I'm actually wearing Knight's boxer shorts. It's incredibly comfortable.
You got your slippers on too?
No, I don't. I'm going barefoot today. It's all up top today.
You're very casual, Lincoln.
Very casual. I feel like I've got to move. The Russ Eats energy drinks have just hit me, and this news that's broken. Boy,
it says have one can a day. How many have you had today, Lincoln?
I've had 3. I've had 3. Can you tell?
How many did you take? 9. I took 9.
I might have had 6 in the last 2 days, but yes. If you could do that, that'd be greatly appreciated. And if you're listening to the podcast thereafter, make sure you give it a big old 5-star review. Your boy's been going through. He's been doing some tough carries, hasn't he? You know, what are we staring down? 8-game losing streak, wooden spoon right around the corner, and here I am, still giving you content week in, week out. All right, let's do it. Let's look at this week's Knighted news, and that's right, battlers. Massive news that sent shockwaves across all the battlers with the news. Adam O'Brien has agreed to end his tenure at the Newcastle Knights at the end of the 2025 season. There was some little rumblings. There was certainly a lot of smoke getting around. Early reports a few hours ago saying that there was a board meeting to ultimately decide the future of Adam O'Brien. But as quickly as those reports came, it was all but suggested. I think the Herald 360 were talking about they're going to be negotiating an early exit for Adam O'Brien. So they'll come up with whatever the payout would be, because he's still got the 2 years running on that contract. And that'll be it. So it's not going to be effective immediately as far as I can tell. It looks like he will be seeing out the last 2 games of the season before we look to make a change in 2026. So, look, Adam O'Brien, came in 2020 after the Nathan Brown era. If you remember, a very messy entry into the club. It was the worst kept secret in rugby league football. Remember, Nathan Brown got his nose out of joint, and it was just a fucking shit fight. The Roosters cracked the shits that we met with Adam O'Brien, and they were pretty much looking at a finals berth. It was very messy at the time, if you can cast your minds back. But look, we're gonna put our rose-colored glasses on, battlers. Now, everyone here is entitled to their opinion, but at the end of the day, look, I know things haven't gone great for us, particularly this year. This year has been a really, really down year, and we could very well win the wooden spoon, which would be fucking terrible. But 2020 arrives at the club and gets us to our first finals berth since 2013, and that was a long fucking time. You got to remember, battlers. For all the younger battlers who were too young to kind of remember this, between 2013, when Wayne Bennett was at the club, and we got all the way to a preliminary final. Bedsy's last game against the Roosters, there were some you reckon this is bad times, battlers? 2016, in the thick, we're staring down our second wooden spoon in a row. Only won one game that year. I think we drew one game and won one game. Nathan Brown coming in, trying to clean up the cap, and then Adam O'Brien arrives and to get us to the next level, and he did. He did achieve that in 2020 and 2021, back-to-back finals appearances. Again, we didn't win those games. We'll convincingly bounce out of those games. 2022, another down year. Mitchell Pearce leaves the club. That ended up being a huge hole that we just couldn't fill. We still had a young Kalen Ponga at the time. The roster wasn't where it needed to be. But we came out of that 2022, and we can all unequivocally say 2023 will go down as Adam O'Brien's best year as head coach for the Newcastle Knights. He lost Kalen Ponga early in the year. He gets shipped off to Canada. We don't know if he's coming back from a HIA. He might medically retire. Comes back, wins the Dally M, 10-game win streak. He got his only finals victory back home against the Raiders. That fucking awesome game that'll be burnt into my brain forever. And then backed it up the very next year. Unfortunately, we did lose to the Cowboys. We were this close to winning it, but ultimately fell short. So, look, it's a very mixed bag, isn't it, for Adam O'Brien? On paper, you would look at it and go, here's a guy in his 6 years. He's made finals 4 of those years, in 2020, 2021, 23, and 24. Fell off a cliff this year, but understandably so. You got injuries and mitigating circumstances, if you want to call it that. But look, he's been here for 6 years now. He's actually the most capped head coach for the Newcastle Knights in our 30-odd year history. Can you believe that? He's been coach here longer than any other prior to him. Alan McMahon, David Waite, Warren Ryan, Mal Reilly, Bennett, Stone, Hagan, the list goes on. He's been here longer than all those guys. So look, didn't end the way we wanted to end, but look, you gotta. I'm sure the bloke worked tirelessly behind the scenes, and it is what it is. It didn't work. I think a lot of battlers got what they wanted, and it's going to be very interesting to see the next era of the Newcastle Knights. Let's take some comments. What are some of? I want to talk about Adam O'Brien a bit. I don't want to just kick the bloke while he's down. I'm sure the bloke worked incredibly hard. And look, there were some perplexing selection choices, and he didn't get a lot of things right. But, we're better than this, just to kick the bloke while he's down and just shoo him out the door. Is there anything about Adam O'Brien, Lou, in the comments that we can double down on, talk about at all, or everyone's sort of cheering, are they? Or
everyone is cheering.
Everyone's cheering. Oh, okay. All right. All right. Well, look, let's put a pin in that. Keep an eye on those. Now, look, a couple of names have been floated around. Now, the top of the list at this point in time is Blake Green, who has been in the coaching system since 2021. So he did arrive. He did play in the halves for Adam O'Brien in 2020. Remember, he came in and then his career ended with that ACL injury. I'm pretty sure it was. So he was cut down at the time. Now, look, it is going to be a bit of a tough sell for Blake Green. Let's be honest. He's in charge of our attack at the moment, and it's been our biggest weakness this year. has been the attack under Blake Green. Very clunky, predictable, and statistically, one of the worst attacking seasons of all time. We are by far clearly the worst attacking team this year. Now, look, there's a couple of reasons why the club would possibly consider him. He's obviously pretty well respected by all reports by the playing group. He's a former half, so he's going to have a good understanding of the modern game as far as that's concerned. But look, at the end of the day, the results really don't back him up. So it's going to be a hard sell. And I think a lot of people are going to be looking at this as a safe internal option, opposed to trying to maybe go for a bold, attacking-minded, sort of outside the box kind of appointment. But you let me know. I know I'm very much on the fence. Again, we're not in those four walls, and maybe if we were and we sort of bear witness to a lot of the stuff that's going on, we could have a totally different opinion on the matter. And, it's not to say that if Blake Green was to be handed the head role position, there'd be a lot of things he would ultimately do a lot differently to Adam O'Brien, which he does not have control over. So that could be the case too. But it's quite understandable where we would have our reservations as Knights supporters going, well, he's the guy that's in, his job is to be in charge of our attack, and our attack has been nothing but poor all season. So anyways, now looking, some other names floated around. Willie Peters. Willie Peters was also an assistant coach under Adam O'Brien in his first 3 seasons, so 2020, 2021, 22, before he departed to get the Hull KR gig over in the Super League. By all reports, absolutely killing it over there. Don't know if he's made a final or whatever. I don't keep a close eye on the Super League competition. But yeah, 2022, obviously his last season was a really poor season, very much similar to what we're facing this year. So it's going to be interesting to sort of where he's come and what he's learned. By ball reports, very similar to Josh Hannay, highly touted guy, got a really good resume. Everyone thinks he's a really good operator, good footy brain. So they seem to be the 2 leading candidates, but there is also another name which all very much surprised me, and that's still Brad Arthur's name's been thrown around. Now, we do know Brad Arthur has re-signed with Leeds. I don't know, if there's a cooling off period, or maybe there was a clause in there that, if there was an NRL position become available, he could get out of that. Who knows? But the fact that his name's been thrown around would suggest that, well, okay, he must still be an option. There must be a way for him to get out of that contract and make his way back into the NRL. I think for a lot of us, that would be the bet we'd all go on. We know we got to the Eels to the 2022 grand final. Unfortunately for the Parramatta Eels, they came across the greatest rugby league team in the modern era, of all time, let's be real, in the Penrith Panthers. Did not leave the club under any poor circumstances. You look back to how Wayne Bennett left our club in an absolute fucking shit heap. Brad Arthur certainly didn't do that with the Parramatta Eels. I think it was just that nice, clean divorce, Louise. It was one of those divorces where you get the kids this week, I get the kids this week, sort of. You know what I mean? It's all 50-50. It was all good. He didn't lose the playing group. I think it was just he was in the building too long. They needed a change. Jason Rolls was there. He's another guy who was highly touted. He's doing good things there. I think it's just a fresh view over the whole operations of the club, and it kind of needed to be done by both clubs there. So the fact that his sons are with our club obviously would indicate that he would be a strong candidate to make his way. The weird one is, though, is Adam O'Brien, as I've said this numerous times, Adam O'Brien and Brad Arthur go way back. Like way back. You Google, I've told this so many times, go Google Brad Arthur and Adam O'Brien, and you'll go see young 20-year-olds running around playing park footy, and you see Brad Arthur with hair. It just looks bizarre and weird. But yeah, so don't know how that dynamic's going to work. Let's just hope, it's a nice clean cut. Now, look, circling back to Adam O'Brien, I think what was alleged, again, this is all alleged, he may have come to this decision not sort of being forced, whether it's just the weight of the season's caught up with him. I don't think there's anything suggesting he's lost the locker room or anything crazy like that. There's been a player revolt or anything like that. I think it's just it's being suggested again. I don't want to go put words in the guy's mouth or insinuate anything, but from what I've heard, I think on a couple of different reports is he's weighted up and he's ultimately decided this is what's best for me, best for the club. They'll go negotiate, part ways, and go from there. We'll take a couple of comments, Lou. What do we got? I really want to sink our teeth into this one and give the battlers give them the floor a bit.
Hank said, I hope he gets some more experience as a coach in juniors. He should have started there first.
Well, Pang, he had one of the best rugby league apprenticeships you could ever have. Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think it was 10 or 11 years under Craig Bellamy and then a further 2 or 3 seasons under Trent Robertson. But yeah, maybe.
Tony said he lost the fans after the Manly game.
Yeah, that was was that the booing at halftime. That was a poor choice of words. I'll say that. I defended him a little bit there. But yes, it was a poor choice of words. One thing that really hasn't helped Adam O'Brien's cause, you know what I think the biggest problem Adam O'Brien's had is just his press conferences. I feel like a lot of people, even not us battlers, even the NRL community, they're not very inspiring. You look at guys, like Ricky Stewart. I fucking love Ricky Stewart's press conferences. He's just ride or die Raiders. He'll defend them to the death, and he's just no bullshit. And I felt like a lot of times with Adam O'Brien, I don't know if he was just straight batting it or he just wasn't great in front of the cameras, but you were just sometimes waiting for that emotion to pour out and to maybe not take the player side so much, but our side and give us something, because we're feeling the pain and to hear your coach vindicate your feelings goes a long way to making you feel better. And I think, in the eyes of all the supporter base, bodes you well long term. His press conferences unfortunately have been very lacking. They don't do him any favors whatsoever, Adam O'Brien. So
Joanne said, was glad I got to see the great final in Newcastle against the Raiders. I say thank you for that, lol.
Yeah, absolutely. 23. Now, look, there might be dividing opinions. A lot of people would say it was more the absolute stellar season Kalen Ponga put together after coming back from Canada after a lengthy stint from his concussions. Some people attribute it to that more so than Adam O'Brien. But look, at the end of the day, talking to players, you play for your coach. And I think it'd be unfair to just dismiss Adam O'Brien's contribution in 2023 and just say it was all on Kalen Ponga. Kalen Ponga was obviously a massive fucking factor in that. But I do feel like Adam O'Brien did a lot of work behind the scenes to get us there. Yeah. And I'm sure he's looking back fondly on that year. Unfortunately, we didn't get many more of them. 2024 was super disappointing because we knew the bar was raised. And I think that was obviously in our eyes, Adam O'Brien was at his zenith. He was at his peak as far as we were concerned. He was like, yeah, he's our coach. This guy is going to take us to the promised land. Top 4.
Great expectations.
Yeah, we were knocking on the door of a top 4 finish, and he was going to be the guy to get us there. And 2024 was another step back. It felt like we just took this giant leap forward after a disappointing 22 season. And it kind of got away on us there. Yeah.
Jamie said, you're doing a fantastic job of steering this live stream into a positive when everyone is so frustrated. AOB served a purpose, but has done his dash. Hope whoever is next with the club for 10 is with the club for 10 years and we stay competitive each season.
Yeah. Oh, I appreciate that, mate. It's look, at the end of the day, the guy would have been working tirelessly. I'm sure if we all sat there and knew exactly what he was doing week in, week out, we'd be much more sympathetic to his cause. Again, I think it's just his press conferences really did him a disservice. I feel like I think we all would have been we all would have loved to seen him once or twice just give it to the players for once and say, that was a really poor effort and not sort of defend them too much. I know you got to protect your players at times, but not all the time. Sometimes they don't need that. Sometimes they need to hear the truth, and your supporter base needs to hear it from the head coach also. And a lot of times we're walking out of these press conferences just frustrated, going, we know just as much now as we did after you left. You could have said so much more. But anyways.
Jared said he had a great first few seasons, probably overachieved if we're honest, and that's been thanks to Kalen mostly. However, the performances and selections have been poor. It's been a bad season all around, and the coach is first to roll. It is exciting though.
Yeah, what I will say, one thing that hasn't Adam O'Brien hasn't nailed is the recruitment and retention hasn't been great. Like as I said, he has been here longer than any head coach prior to him. And at this point in time, that's a long time to establish a very good roster. The depth should be there. Your squad balance should be really, really good. You can forgive him for the first couple of years. You're inheriting a team that Brownie put together. Brownie did his job of building this club and getting us from literally the bottom of the bottom to getting us somewhere to get us on the path of getting us off the bottom. But we needed that guy to go from here to here. And I think we can all agree that that was the right decision to make at the time. He definitely played his part in doing that. But I think, looking back at his body of work, I think clearly, the top 30 squads just haven't quite been there. I know 23, whether we caught lightning in a bottle, and it just all came together at the right time. But the roster hasn't been, we've never looked at our roster and gone, this is a bona fide top 4 roster, and the pathway system is I guess I don't know if Adam O'Brien has a lot to do with the pathway system, so it might be a little bit unfair to suggest we haven't had these juniors coming through, because now we keep talking about the Peter Parr effect, which he didn't come in until the end of 2022, so he's really only had 2 full seasons of Peter Parr being at the helm and getting that sort of stuff cleaned up. And we're starting to see, Razor, Dill Lucas, Fletcher Hunt, Kyle McCarthy, these sort of guys coming through, Connor Vitano. The recruitment and retention. And I guess the other thing is I get a lot of people ask me, like, who's a young player that, the Knights picked up and went from being a zero to a hero? And under Adam O'Brien. And, I look at guys and say, like, maybe a Penrith player like Tom Jenkins might be unfair, because Penrith are just such a fucking well-oiled machine. But you look at the stark difference when you get a player like Tom Jenkins at the club, and he looked like a bastard. He didn't even look like first-grade quality. And now he's over there, and he's there leading try scorer, cemented that wing spot. But for us, he did nothing. So I guess at the same time, I'm looking at I can't see a player that has massively developed under Adam O'Brien. I know, like, you got guys like Brady Best, but I think Brady Best was always going to be a guy that was going to reach those lofty heights. I think anyone, even when he debuted under Nathan Brown, we were all sitting there going, this guy, we all knew Bradman Best's names whispered before his NRL debut in late 2019. So he was always going to be that guy. But there is a valid point to look and go, who was the guy that Adam O'Brien took him from here to representative level, like crazy. So I don't know. Maybe there's a name or two that I might have left off the list, but yeah.
Dylan said, credit to AOB for coaching in 23 while losing his mum.
Yeah, great point, Dylan. Absolutely great point, mate. And I think a lot of people don't see that, and there's so much stuff that we don't get to see, that we don't get to hear. We only see the press conferences, maybe an interview here and there. And I understand. I keep saying it, when emotions are high, intelligence is low. But look, trust me, battlers, just see the guy off. He's done what he's done. Has he made mistakes? He absolutely has made mistakes. He's got, unfortunately, the wins just haven't been there. What did I say? 44% win rate. It is what it is. It's just we're going in a new direction. Don't kick the bloke while he's down. And you just try and think back to that beautiful 2023 season. And the fact that he lost his mum and continued to keep doing what he was doing is fucking crazy. Like, absolutely crazy. That goes to show you his commitment to the club. You can't look at that and go, oh, this guy didn't care, or it wasn't. Adam O'Brien didn't fail because he didn't care or he didn't try hard enough. It's just, unfortunately, he just didn't get some things right ultimately.
Nicholas said safe selections killed him.
It's weird though. Sometimes it's like to preview where I'm going to go. Like some of the selections are real head scratchers. You know, I look at James Schiller. James Schiller. Unfortunately, I love the Schiller. We love Schiller instinct. You know, we love Hank. But you know, he's not a center. And every game he's played at center, he's been fucking burnt. And then we're playing him once more at center this week. And Fletcher Hunt on the wing. Weird. That's not a safe selection at all for me. I don't know what we're doing there. I guess at this point in time, yeah, you might look at some of them as safe because ultimately he's trying to avoid the wooden spoon. And if this stuff's going in the background, he's looking at, I need results. It's all well and good, the blood players, but I want to win games of football. I want to save my job. Had his job been safe, you probably would have seen some different team selections. But I guess now we can look at it in perspective and go, well, clearly, you know, this didn't just come out of the blue. I'm sure this behind the scenes had been talked about for quite a while, for weeks. Because how many weeks was it? It was literally the day before I flew down to NRL HQ. When was that? July?
I think so.
I think, yeah, July, when we did that emergency podcast at the KP news and the fucking Adam O'Brien news back then. So, you know, the old adage, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I'm sure way back then there was, you know, behind the scenes, some stuff being said. So.
Sorry, I was yawning. Paul said, I think he was a hard worker, but maybe can't connect like other coaches.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, you know, it's all well and good to be a great footy brain and an incredibly hardworking guy, but yeah, it's that personal relationship in it. It's that's another element to coaching. You see guys, you know, and they're all different. They're all you know, different cats. I'm sure players will tell you, you know, Ivan's different to Ricky, who's different to Trent, who's different to Wayne Bennett, you know, different to Desi. He's a fucking totally different kettle of fish. But it's how you resonate with players, isn't it? And you know, I think maybe looking back, a lot of the times, getting back to what the last comment was about safe selections, maybe he was trying to protect the playing group too much. Maybe one thing he will learn is sometimes you need to upset the apple cart. Maybe he was trying to, you know, make these selections. Maybe some guys that needed to be dropped, you know, a game or two, who weren't performing. You know, maybe he was thinking, oh, you know, I don't want to upset the apple cart. Maybe that's something you learn over time. Maybe, you know, it's just the way he is. Like, I'm very much like that. I'm a people pleaser. I am not a controversial, you know, I don't like to upset anyone. That's just who I am naturally, you know. But yeah.
Jordan said, as a fan, I just wanted him to say that was a shithouse performance.
Yeah, that's right. You know, it's the old saying: if you listen to the fans for long enough, you'll end up sitting with them. So you can't go listening to them every. You know, it'd be like if I listened to half the comments I got about what I do or say. You know,
be in a corner crying somewhere.
Yeah, that's right. But there is the occasion where you need to, stand up for your supporters and say, no, that was not good enough. That was terrible. You know, we had the old boys, that we had this and that. You know, I'm very disappointed on what we did. That our fans deserve so much more. They've been here thick and thin all season. We got a correction. What was the membership number actually? 36,000? Was that right? I think you said 30.
Yeah.
Someone said 32, but I think
36 plus
36,000 members, which is fucking incredible. Like, whoever coaches the Newcastle Knights is seriously blessed with the best fucking supporter base on the fucking planet. Unequivocally the best in the league. We bleed rugby league football. You know, last weekend just proved we fucking ride or die with this team. And you know, we do need a coach that occasionally tells us what we need to hear, you know, that reaffirms what we're feeling. I think that's the way to put it, is when we're all sitting there feeling like this and your coach doesn't reaffirm how you're feeling about really poor performances over an extended period of time. Yeah, it eats away at a lot of people. And I can understand that. I really can understand that.
That's about it.
That's
Ready
it.
to move on?
Well, yeah. We'll keep them coming. You know, if you've got questions about Adam O'Brien and all that sort of stuff, you know, I'm sure there'll be plenty to talk about. So if we've missed anything, please drop another comment, question. We'll circle back in the burning question segment of the show. But But let's do it. Let's sink our teeth into this week's game. That's right, with the Newcastle Knights traveling down to Shark Park, an absolute graveyard. We haven't won there since Wayne Bennett was bloody coach. Can you believe that? That was like, 3 coaches ago? We had Bennett, Stone, Brownie, Bedsy probably in the mix there somewhere. Fucking hell, it's a long time ago. Willie Mason was playing, for God's sake. Dane Gagai was actually still in the team. Dane Gagai was there. But yes, 2014, absolutely crazy. Yes, Sunday, 2 o'clock, rugby league football. To tell you what, talk about going to the greatest football ground in the world to probably the worst. Shark Park looks like poo. It looks terrible. The footage, just the scene, like you look at a beautiful day like Mac Jones Stadium packed out. It's a fucking 10 out of 10, an absolute masterpiece. A painter would love to paint a picture of that. Gee, Shark Park's a bloody eyesore. Oh, I don't want, if there's any Shark supporters that have snuck in here, I tell you what, your stadium, how long have they been in the comp for? Since, is it the fucking 60s or something? And that's what you got? Fucking Jesus. Anyways, we're not here to talk about Shark Park. We're here to talk about this game. Let's do it. Let's sink our teeth into it with the team Adam O'Brien has named. Kicking it off in the spine, we have Dane Gagai keeping that fullback spot. Connor Vitano, you comment away. Would you have picked him? What would you have done there? He finds himself out as our captain, fullback once more. Completely unchanged halves pairing with Jake Arthur and Jack Cogger. Still a little bit of injury cloud over Jack Cogger with a calf injury. Let me know what you think there, if there should have been wholesale changes there or not. And Fannis Crossland once more finds himself at starting hooker. Moving across to the Cronulla Sharks, we have Will Kennedy at fullback, Braden Trindle and Nico Hines in the halves with Balake Bareilly as hooker for the Cronulla Sharks. Now, look, it's no surprise that both of our halves had a pretty poor outing last week, and I still, for the love of God, cannot understand what Jackson Hastings needs to do. He's not even named in reserves, so he can't even be called up, which is fucking bonkers to me. I don't get that at all.
Jordan said it great. Capitals, get me Hastings.
I don't get it. He is unequivocally the best half in the building. So even if Cogs is ruled out, he can't play. He cannot play. So if that happens, I'm assuming it's going to be Crossland the half. So we're going to get another fucking halves pairing there. Brayley goes to 9 anyways. Yeah, just that, we talk about some of these selections. I don't know what's going on there, but yeah, Jackson Hastings should absolutely be finishing off the season as our halfback, not Jack Cogger. I'm sorry, but yeah, the Sharkies, fresh off the bye, as I said earlier, they're looking to cement a top 4 spot. They can score a bunch of points. They put an absolute clinic through the Gold Coast Titans. Again, they were expected to win, and they did so in resounding fashion. I think it was like 54 points they put on them there. Look, we do know Nico Hines hasn't thrived in the rep arena, but still a very quality halfback. With Trindle there, Trindle a really handy pickup also. So those two guys gel quite well playing their respective sides of the football. Blake Brayley, seriously, he might be a real smoky to get a bloody Kangaroos jersey. He is having his breakout year this year, the younger brother to Jaden. So, Will Kennedy, pretty handy. He's certainly not the superstar fullbacks, your upper echelons of fullbacks, but still pretty handy there. But yeah, I don't know what to talk about here because we haven't seen a great performance in the spine for a while. I think we just hopefully get a team that looks like they're enjoying their rugby league football and throws around a bit. I know we sort of got around 14 offloads, which was a bit of an uptick to what we usually see, a bit of second phase play. Let's just fucking have fun with it. Let's hope it's nice, fast conditions out there. Throw the football around a bit, play a bit expansive. We did look better when we did a bit of that. I don't know what more to really say about the spine heading into this game. But anyways, let's move along to the outside backs with our boy, Dominic Young. James Schiller coming away in that right centre spot. Absolute brain scratcher, head scratcher, that one. Brady Best parked up on the lethal left with Fletcher Hunt also out there. However, Greg Marzu named 18th man. So might be a bit of a switcheroo there, coming back from that bit of a back injury, which he pulled up late last week from. Moving across to the Cronulla Sharks, we've got Ronaldo Mulatalo on the left wing with KL Iro makes his return. How lucky are we? He makes his fucking return after 3 months out with a pec injury, with Hiroti and Katoa on the right edge there. So let's move right along to this week's player battle matchup. And that's right, I've got the two big wingers going head-to-head. I've got Dominic Young up against Ronaldo Mulatalo, with Dominic Young scoring 5 tries in the last 6 games against the Sharkies. So he does like scoring some points against the Sharks. So let's hope that trend continues. We have been going him a little bit more of late, which has been nice. But Ronaldo Mulatalo, he's a crazy statistic. He scored 41 tries in the last 42 games at Shark Park. So if there's any lock-it-ins for Ronaldo Mulatalo later on in the show, you basically might as well, I'll just give it to you, because, yeah, that is absolutely insane statistic there. So, yeah, both big bodies there. I'm sure there's going to be an absolute aerial battle between these two guys. Dominic Young's found a little bit of joy under the high ball in some past games. So let's hope we can get some tries for our boy Dom down there. And, yeah, it's going to be an area of attack, isn't it, for the Cronulla Sharks when you got, posting 41 tries, in your last 42 games back home for Ronaldo. It's going to be an edge they're going to be wanting to attack us on. And then he's going to have his partner in crime there, Kale Iro. I think they've had, what's his name again? Sorry, I've forgotten his name. Talakai filling in. But, yeah, Kale Iro. He was a guy we actually had in our, I think he was New South Wales Cup, or maybe, I think it was in our Cup team back in 2020. I think just prior to Adam O'Brien arriving at the club, I remember we had Kale. Well, back then it was Kale Iro. Now it's KL Iro. But, yeah, very handy football player. He had that crazy streak. I think he had to equal the most try-scoring games in a row. I think it was something like 9 tries or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you remember. But, yeah, very handy football player. Sucks he's made his bloody return this week of all weeks. But anyways, is what it is there. All right, let's move across to the forwards. Completely unchanged with our boy, Try Pierce Paul. His second last game as a Newcastle Knight. Suck it all in, Battlers. Suck it all in, KPP. Jermaine McEwen once more parked up on that right edge with Leo Thompson and Jacob Saifidi leading out the front, with Tyson Frizzell filling in that lock forward position. Moving across to the Cronulla Sharks, we have Billy Burns and Teague Wilson in the back row, with Adam Fanua-Blake and Toby Rudolph as the big dogs running out front, with Jesse Colquhoun replacing Cam McInnes, who's been ruled out with an ACL injury. So a big out for the Cronulla Sharks. But, yeah, AFB, obviously, he is the leader of that pack. We all know what he went and did over in the Warriors. I think he's a bit injured limping into this game. Certainly not having that big dynamic season that we're used to seeing from Adam Fanua-Blake. So perhaps, struggling with a couple of niggles and that. Still a very quality football player. I'm pretty sure most games he seems to score against us. I remember quite a few Warriors games where he's got one on us. Very handy football player, moves very well for a big fella, big, powerful, strong kind of guy, up there with the best of them on his day. So he's going to be a guy, we're going to need Leo and Jason have to take it to him. We cannot have him winning the power game. Cam McInnes, big out for them. Obviously, he's just an absolute stalwart. Just look at his head, for God's sake. Just tackles for fun, that bloke. I'm sure he just tackles anything. I think it's just human beings that man tackles. He tackle anything. But, yeah, still a very handy very, very handy forward pack there. They're obviously missing, his name escapes me. Who's the back rower? I should have it here in my notes. Britton Nickera. Very handy edge back row on the right edge. So obviously, I think he's suspended for quite a period of time, if my memory serves me correctly. But yes, all right, let's move along, shall we, to the interchange bench for the Newcastle Knights. That's right, the McDonald's Thick Shake Machine up against his brother in the Brayley Bowl, the last Brayley Bowl for the Newcastle Knights. Jaden Brayley at number 14 with Matty Croker, Tommy Can and Elijah Salsi Lamoana makes his return once more on the bench for the Newcastle Knights. For the Sharkies, we've got Puru, Sifa Talakai, Tommy Hazelton, the man that dogged us, the man that we were so keen on getting our rugby league hands on, and he bloody brushed us, the dog, with Braden Hamlin-Ueli. So very big bench for the Cronulla Sharks. Yeah, as I said, when you got guys like Sifa Talakai, tackle breaking machine, a big thickie, that dude. Tommy Hazelton, he loves running off the back fence. He's all about that shit. And Braden Hamlin-Ueli. So big forward pack. They're sort of a much bigger pack than what we're coming in with. The upside, if this team list doesn't change, it wouldn't have been my first choice, but you're going to get a little bit of upside, I think, having Jaden Brayley maybe interjecting himself later in the game, picking his moments against a big pack. So hopefully a bit of fatigue setting in there. We might get a bit of joy there. But yes, that'll round out the team lists for this game. Let's move in. It's time for Lock It In, brought to you by our great mates at Grain Fed Brewery. The beer brewed tough, just like your game day calls. Whether you're backing in the boys for a big win or predicting a masterclass from your favorite player, make sure you have a cold Grain Fed in hand. Bold flavors, bold predictions. Lock it in with Grain Fed. All right, category 1 for me, I've got our boy Dane Gagai, going to have a great captain's night. Lock him in for a try. And Dominic Young, as I was saying before, he loves scoring points against the Cronulla Sharks. Let's lock him in for a try. I want to keep those offloads going once more. Don't want to play conservative football. Nothing left to lose. Let's throw it around a bit. 12 offloads for the Newcastle Knights. 3 forced dropouts. Don't care how they come. I just want to see some force dropped out. Let's start mounting a bit of pressure. I do, however, have the Sharks scoring first and last. I'm not going to give you a result. I refuse to lock that in, but history is very much against us in this game of football. As I was reading out earlier, 11 years since we've won there. The Sharkies absolutely have our number. Isn't it fucking just incredible? Is there another team in the comp? It's been 10 years. Over 10 years since we've won in Townsville. It's been over 10 years now since we've won on the Gold Coast, and now 11 years at Shark Park. What is doing there? I remember ages ago, the Canberra Raiders had a great hoodoo. Who was it? I think it was St. George, hadn't won in Canberra for 10 years. I remember that like 10 years ago, thinking that's fucking crazy. We got 3 of them. We got 3 grands we haven't won at in over a decade. That has to be surely a completely unwanted milestone for a football club. I would hate to know if there's any more out there. But the fact that we got 3 grounds that we have not won at in over a decade is fucking criminal. What is doing there? Oh my God. But yes, anyways, lock it in. So we've got any lock it ins. All right, Christopher Wilson, what do you got, big dog? Brady Best and Katoa, a bit of love on the other side of the field. Like that, mate. Like that. Locking them in. Bit of carnage happening along our left edge there. Knights to complete between 70 and 75%. Sharkies, 30 to 35 tackle breaks. Sharks to score first and last. Yeah, it took the words out of my mouth there. Mulatalo to be put on report. Ooh, okay. Righto. Bit of a bad boy. Pang. Lock it in. Jack Cogger, if he plays to kick 100%, all right. Bramman Best to score. Crossland to provide another try assist off a grubber chip kick. Yeah, I like that, mate. I want to see it. Good point. I wouldn't mind seeing a bit more of a kicking license for Phoenix Crossland. He's had some good touches. Oh, Tony. Dominic Young cost me $950 last week by not getting a try. Tony, do you want to hear a funny story? Shout out to Oikos Cafe. Getting my coffee there. I don't know if I told you this story, Lou. Barista there, Brie, she was telling me she had a $15 multi on over 2 games, right? And it was up to, it could have potentially won a 12 grand if it came off, right? She needed Tom Dearden to score, and she decided, what do I do? And she cashed out at 2 grand, and moments later, Tom Dearden scores a try.
Oh.
It's like, oh, that's winning and losing at the exact same time, right?
Well, how many people would have had Reese to score the try?
Luckily, he did later, though.
Yeah.
He did later. Yeah, I thought, oh, wow. I guess you got to be happy you got the 2 grand, but 12 grand off $15, man, must have been a hell of a multi. But anyways, all right, Justin, what do you got, mate? Dominic Young for a hat trick. Yes, we are long overdue for a hattie, mate. I think we've had a hattie since Dill Lucas. Who was that against? Can't remember now, but I think they have one hat trick this year. Gagai to score a double. Shit. Bit of points scored by the Newcastle Knights. Knights to force 4-line dropouts. Sharks to have 10+ errors. Wow. Is this someone hacked Justin's account here? Knights to score first and last. Knights win 1-12. Is he thinking now the air's been cleared by Adam O'Brien that we're going to start playing some goddamn good football?
He's poured himself a drink tonight, so I think he's in a good mood.
Holy
Justin.
shit, Justin. Have you managed to find a case of the Russ Energy, mate? You've been just down on the Russ Energies before you've done this. Wow. All right, mate. Very good. I like the optimism, pal. Very much like the optimism. All right, Matthew. Give me a 40-1 odds for a front row feast. Leo Thompson, Jacob Saifidi, anytime. I like that. We had a little bit of luck, actually. It's funny you mention that, hey, because we had JSAF nearly scoring, hey, when Scotty Drinkwater ripped it out. And you obviously had Leo Thompson scoring last week. He nearly well scored a double. Who was it? Someone ripped the ball out. Was it Shibasaki or someone? He looked all but to score another try, another bombed opportunity. So that's not a bad shout, mate. That's actually pretty good. I might have a look at that market because historically we have been so poor at scoring in the middle, like fucking diabolical. Something like 5 tries for the entire season have been scored in the middle for us. We just don't do it. We just rely on our edges. So very good. What do we got, Laurie? Maybe the Knights might win 100-0 this week, Link. I tell you what. That will be one of the great Knights watches. If we can score 100-0.
I think Laurie was the one that said we'll lose by 100. That's why it's funny.
Oh,
a few weeks ago.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I remember now. I remember. Oh, God, I miss fucking winning football games. It sucks when you got the camera on you and you're just like, oh, yeah. Boy, oh, boy. Anyways, very good. Great lock-it-ins. Great lock-it-ins. Let's do it. Let's move along to burning questions brought to you by Get Out Alive Fire Safety Training. If you work in a business, battlers, chances are you are not prepared for fire or emergency. So make sure you get in contact with Get Out Alive Fire Safety Training for all your training, plans, procedures. They'll make sure your staff are compliant because if you do not learn, you will burn. All right, what do we got?
While I'm waiting for some questions to come through, I've got this comment from Matthew that said, at the end of the day, I would love to see us win at least one more game this year. But at the very least, I just want to see us have a red hot crack for 80 minutes.
Yeah, I'm with you, dude. I'm with you. That's all we want. I know we need a win. We desperately need a win. A win would get that, would certainly, I think, avoid the spoon. I can't see the Titans winning 2 games. So that would be nice. We would sleep easy knowing that. If we don't win this game, I'll tell you what, sets the stage for the Dill Brown Bowl. The very next, us going against Parramatta of all clubs, the very next week. But yeah, mate, I'm with you, mate. It's just having that crack that it's just fallen off a cliff. The effort areas since that Warriors game have really just gone to shit. So I don't know. Is this more motivation? Do the players now look to try and put on a great performance for their coach? It'll be very telling if they come out and really like we see a big uptick, not necessarily win the game. If we see an uptick in performance, it would suggest that they're playing for their coach. So that's going to be interesting. So keep that in the back of your minds if we see a really, really good performance this week.
Laurie asks, what's your thoughts on Fletcher Hunt's shoulder charge to the head last weekend?
Oh, I'm 50-50 on these. They annoy the shit out of me when a player slips and they get hit in the head. And you think, well, what do you want the player to do? Like when it's slowed down, it looks way worse. But in the heat of battle, it's a tough physical sport. It's the toughest fucking most physical sport on the planet. And these guys, it's split-second decisions. And when a guy loses his footing, which he did, and gets nailed, I'm assuming that's, unless I missed another play, I'm assuming that's the one you're talking about. Yeah, it is what it is. It couldn't have been too bad because there was no HIA call or protocols whatsoever, so it should be all right. But it does annoy me. I think you got to look at it a little bit objectively. Some of these calls, like you got to take sometimes into account. A player slipped, like. It's not like these, guys are just, like Jared Warrior Hargreaves did to our boy Danny Badiris all those years ago in 2013. Just looked like it was fucking attempted murder. Just absolutely destroyed him. When you get guys who are slipping in tackles and the defender clips them, I think that's a bit harsh. That's just football. That shit happens.
Justin has asked, would the NRL sign off on the club signing the Walker brothers, and would the brothers still be interested in coaching an NRL club?
Yeah, it'd be very interesting. It'd be a very it could be a masterstroke, hey, because I've told the story quite a few times. I watched a lot of games. I was down at North Ipswich Reserve quite often watching the Walker brothers in that 2015 season, which we ultimately, which they won the Q Cup comp 2015, and then would go on to play the Newcastle Knights. That was fucking weird watching the Knights play the Jets. It could be a masterstroke in the fact that they were very, very what's the word I'm looking for? Very innovative in their approach to attacking football. It was very much possession based. Hold on to the ball as long as you possibly can. I can guarantee you the short dropout rule that's brought in at the moment is unequivocally because of what the Walker brothers were doing with the Ipswich Jets 10 years ago. No doubt in my mind. Every kick, didn't matter under what circumstances, Jets players were instructed to do short dropouts anywhere, anytime. And then when you look at what we have potentially as our spine with Kalen Ponga, Dill Brown, and Dylan Lucas, not Dylan Lucas, and Fletcher Sharp, it is going to be, I think, a bit of an unconventional attacking system, and maybe just having those guys in there, who knows, just revolutionise attacking football in rugby league. Who knows? Because this season, the Newcastle Knights have had zero identity as far as attacking football is concerned. We just don't have it. There is none. Defensively, we absolutely know what we're capable of. And for a good portion of the season, we knew what it was. We relied on it. But the attack, yeah, it's going to be very interesting if Blake Green is the guy. Who would fill his spot? Who takes that position? Who would he have in mind to bring in as an attacking coach? So you never know. You never know.
Clinton's asked, with us getting a new coach, we don't want to end up going backwards again. What needs to happen to prevent this?
Oh, dude, look, I think the good thing is you're going to have Brian McDermott's going to still be in the building, which is going to be massive. If I'm going to assume Blake Green's going to be the guy. He seems to be, all the noise seems to be Blake Green at the moment. So let's indulge and say it was him. You still got him in the building, and the defensive side, those systems do not touch. And I think Blake Green would be smart enough to know you don't need to touch that side. That can be left alone. We've got to really, really work on the fundamentals in our attack and come up with something new. And it's probably inevitable that it coincides well if we are going to revisit and blow up the attacking playbook. And when you've got a guy like Dill Brown who's going to be here, he's going to see out the rest of his career as a Newcastle Knight. To start that with him walking in the building. Unfortunately, he is going to be late to preseason, which, it's going to be expected. He's going to be Stacey Jones is, all but confirmed he's going to be picked for the Kiwis. He's going to be off doing his thing there. So we're not going to get our hands on him until a little bit later on. But yeah, it's the attack, man. That's what needs to be sorted. Brian McDermott has done a sensational job for the most part. And even last year, he was doing a pretty good job. I think he was here in 23 as well. How long has Brian McDermott been here for? I got a feeling he was here in 23, wasn't he? Yeah, he must have been. So his body of work's been really, really good. It's just the attack, which I would imagine you would think would be the easier problem to solve. I would think if you're a head coach, if you had to have the choice, if a hypothetical was posed to you, would you rather inherit a team that was really good at attacking but couldn't defend for shit, or would you prefer a team that defended really well but their attack was super clunky? Which one would you prefer? I'm assuming you would rather the team that defends really well, because that's effort. It takes a certain kind of play to do that. The attacking stuff, I'd imagine, would be the fun stuff to do. Players would enjoy doing that stuff. So, and when you got guys like Kalen Ponga and Razor Sharp, Dill Lucas, we all know the backline slick. The players are there. We all know. I kept saying it. Knights don't have a physical problem. They've got a philosophical problem. The playbook is just not being implemented right. It's either broken or it's just players aren't vibing with it, or it's not coached into them well enough, or whatever it is. We don't know what it is. We'll never know what it is. But yeah, there's the longest answer you'll ever get, Clinton. There you go.
Jose has asked, is Adam Blair worth a shout for a coaching gig?
Adam Blair, okay. I forgot about him being in the building. Probably not. I think there's no way they're going to hand that over. It's going to have to be someone who's going to be at the bare minimum, had been an assistant coach in the NRL and for a while. At the very bare minimum, I can't see. It's either going to be an assistant, an ex-NRL coach, or a Super League coach. That's it. Anything outside of that, I know Matt Lantry's name's been floated around quite a bit. I think he is going to be inevitably, from what I hear, an NRL coach. Who knows? Maybe in a few years' time, he will be the dude for us. But I think at this point in time, I think they want someone with that NRL experience and whatever that brings to be the head coach of an NRL team. I'd imagine, it's one thing to have success in pathways and be a great operator and do things in the Newcastle rugby league. That's fucking awesome. Clearly, he's got all that stuff down. But I can only imagine maybe the jump from there to here to the pressures, the media pressures, and all the outside noise that comes with being a head coach. It might be, might take some steps for someone to get their head around that. That's what makes what Michael Hagan did so fucking remarkable for his age in his first year to inherit a team in 2000 who got that heartbreaking loss to the Roosters. Like, they're a team we should have won the grand final that year. It was some big personalities. You got the likes of Joey in that running around. You still had Matty. Matty just left. Sorry, hadn't he? He just left. That was his last year. So you got all the moving parts there. Tony Butterfield left. And for Hagues to come into the age he did in his first year as a rookie coach and get a team from that, who should have been a disaster, to win a grand final against statistically the greatest fucking football team to ever play in the 2001 Parramatta Eels is crazy. Crazy. All right. What else?
Christopher asked, with AOB not being the coach now, will the club be more attractive to players wanting to sign with the Knights?
Possibly. Yeah. I don't know. That's the same. Like, Blake Green does seem to be very popular with the playing group. You hear nothing but good things, about him, and being a good footy brain. That maybe, potentially. I don't know. Yeah. It's hard to say. I don't want to sit here and go, oh, yeah, fucking no one, now Adam O'Brien's gone. Everyone's like, oh, thank God he's gone. Now we'll go sign for the Knights. I don't think that would have been the case, but yeah, we'll wait and see, I guess. Wait and see.
G. Wardy asked, is Ted Lasso available?
Yeah, get Teddy Lasso over, right? Yeah, maybe. Who's the GOAT coach of all time? Let me know that one. Belichick. It'd have to be, you'd think it'd be Belichick. Get Belichick over for a coaching clinic. That's it. I've extinguished all the burning questions. Very good, battlers. As I said, monumental episode. Where were you when you heard the news that Adam O'Brien was departing the Newcastle Knights? It's the end of an era. But yes, we still got 2 more games with him as head coach. As I said, history has not been kind to us at Shark Park. Statistically, we are a fucking snowball's chance in hell.
I was sitting here giggling. You should have put it as Shart Park.
Shart. Yeah, it's when you say shit and fuck at the same time comes out shark.
No, isn't it shit and fart?
Yeah, shit and fart.
When you shart yourself?
Yeah, but I'm saying if you said shit and fuck at the same time, it goes shark.
Okay.
Yeah. But yes, yeah, so look, going to be a huge Knights watch. Make sure you tune in for that. I need all the emotional support I can get. So look, come on in. We've got 2 more games for the season for the Newcastle Knights. Come on in, join the fun. It is a bunch of fun. I'm not going to have an annoying Cronulla supporters. I don't actually know any, so don't have to worry about that. Not like last week with the Broncos supporters being here. So
you don't have any Shark friends.
No, don't have any Shark friends. But yes, battlers, if you can do so, if you're watching the live stream right now, please give it a big old thumbs up. Really does go a long, long way to get more eyes and ears out to all the other battlers. Just think, there's all these other battlers out there who just want to, they've got burning questions. They want to be answered. They want to be heard. Well, you can help them be heard, help them discover the podcast. The more we get in here, the bigger it grows, and the more we can do for you guys, all right? So we'd be greatly appreciated if you could do that. If you're listening to this after the fact, wherever you are, make sure you give it a big old 5-star review. All right. The Newcastle Knights might have had a 1 out of a 1-star season, but we've had a 5-star season out here at the United. All right. Continuing to do the hard yards just for you, for the greatest supporters in rugby league football, the Battlers. But yes, Battlers, that'll see us out for tonight. I am actually, is this going to be a bit insensitive to say I'm getting the Adam O'Brien out of here? But I am getting the Adam O'Brien out of here. I'll see you on the Night's Watch on Sunday. Have a good one, Battlers. See you then.